So this video is on managing interview nerves. As a career coach, I've helped a lot of people to manage their nerves in an interview process. So I'm going to give you some tips about what kind of works for a lot of people. So whether you're really severe, so there's visible shaking, your face gets all red, you forget what you say, or if it's a little bit of a light nervousness, but you still feel you want to get more confident in interviews, this video is going to be for you. So first of all, I want to acknowledge that interviews are stressful processes, and your body is designed under stressful conditions to operate on a fight or flight model, meaning that the blood goes from the brain, it goes to the legs, gives you lots of rapid heartbeats so that you can basically run. So if it feels like in an interview you want to run, that's your body doing its job properly. Not that helpful in an interview process where you do have to sit down and try to present confidently and calmly. So we're going to look in this video about some of the things that can make you get control of that anxiety and those nerves so you can deliver much more confidently. All right. So one of the key tips with managing nerves, and this isn't as common as some of the other tips that I'll say, is just acknowledge that it's okay to be nervous. We often see nerves as a sign of weakness rather than a sign of strength. A nerve and a nervous system is designed to help us. So when you're nervous, your body is trying to help you, to give you the energy you need to get away. So rather than fight it and fight that really awkward feeling, just sit with it. Just accept it, that it's present and wishful thinking is not going to wish it away. And once you accept that it has a function and a role, then it's just something you move with rather than against. That I want to get rid of it feeling is the thing that kind of can trigger that cycle of self-assessment and self-criticism, right? So that you're in an interview and you answer a question, you think, oh, maybe I could have answered it better. Oh, I'm really nervous. Oh, they're going to see me shaking. Oh, I don't want, and then it becomes a bit of a snowball effect. Whereas, when I'm doing this video, in other videos I've spoken quite fast, you see what happens when I start to slow down. I can still get my point across and I can still be really deliberate, but I'm coming across as much more calm. And in an interview process, the only thing that I need to do to turn this switch on is to remind myself to just allow a bit more time and to be really present in the moment. So the first step is to acknowledge that nerves are normal. People are not assessing you as much as they're kind of looking at what you're saying, what's the meaning of what you're saying, all those different type of things. I've been in interviews where people have physically shaken, have turned red, and you know what I think? That person really cares about this. That's what I think. This person really cares about this. I don't see it as a sign of weakness. I don't see it as a sign of anything other than they care about this because they're nervous about it. And care is good. We want people to care. So mindset is a key component to most of the things I talk about in this sort of videos, but really, really important. So one of the other things to keep in mind is around breath. Breath is your friend. So breath is really, you're breathing well when you kind of feel like you're inflating a balloon from your stomach. Fortunately, I've got quite a big gut, so it's not a big stretch of the imagination to imagine a balloon there. But if you think about kind of like that in your diaphragm, just blowing up a balloon, if you take a few of those deep breaths, you can actually notice your heart rate slowing down. I've got a sports watch, and originally I didn't want a sports watch because I was thinking, I don't want to measure my heart rate all the time. I don't want to be aware of that. I'd rather not know. But over time, I can actually see the heart rate getting slower and slower and slower based on taking more breaths. So breath is your friend. Sometimes when people are really nervous in interviews, they shorten the breath here, and it's almost like the breath can't get out. And what happens when the breath can't get out is it's really hard to understand what the person's saying because they're kind of all up in here. As soon as I bring the breath down in here, and sort of lower, I don't know what the part of that body is, gut, then you're much more easily able to have that conversation and be present in that conversation. So be really conscious of breath and slowing down your breath. And if you notice yourself talking really fast, just slow it down. Slow down the tempo. You'll feel like you're talking really super slow. You'll feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm crawling. But for people that get really anxious, that's just bringing it back to its normal level. And if you watch yourself in a video like this, then you'll get a sense of how clear or unclear it is. Do you think it's too fast? It's really hard to tell in the present. So breath work is really good. This other thing is preparation. I know you know this, everyone says this, but it really does make a difference. Most people are really aware of preparing their responses, right? So I come up with examples of answers that I think they're going to ask. There's also preparation about mental preparation or in the space preparation. So if it's a physical, in-person interview, I often like to think about, or even go, if I can, go to the space beforehand and get a sense of it. Because often when I am really nervous about something, I see the room as being quite small and dark and dim, and whereas often when you go to a place, even if you stand outside the building that you're going to, for example, and just look up and kind of go, cool, I can see myself presenting in that room. So that visualization of being really calm and presenting confidently can be really valuable. So if you can physically see the space, you'll get a sense of the space as well. So yes, prepare responses to answers you think they'll ask. Prepare responses for answers you don't think they'll ask. And do as much preparation as you can about the people that are on the panel. So if it's a panel interview, so more than one person is interviewing you, see if you can find out who the panel is. Because if you find out who they are, go on LinkedIn, find their names, you can start to get an understanding of who they are, how they describe what they do. You might have a few things in common. So you start seeing them as real people rather than these entities that have the power to control, your fate in a recruitment process. If you see them as persons that have been in different jobs, they have different hobbies, they've done these different skills, they're just like you. They're just like you. They might be you 5 years' time, So it depersonalizes it so that when you're talking to people, it's just kind of like, oh, this is so-and-so who started out here and ended up there. It just normalizes the process a little bit. So preparation in terms of response. I'll do another video on preparation because it is such a, in-depth topic, but in terms of managing nerves, the more you feel prepared. I think there is something about being too prepared, and I've seen it in mock interviews with people, and too prepared looks like when someone has memorized a script, I think they're going to ask me about a difficult customer. Here's line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 4, line 3, blah, 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 blah. And what happens is they might get in there and they get stuck and they forget line 2, and then they go, oh God, I don't remember line 2, line 3, and then they really get stressed. So rather than focusing on the micro detail, line by line, think about what is it the feel? What's the overall picture that I want to give? The overall picture that I want to give is customer service is in my DNA. I view customers as giving us really important information about the types of products and services they want. I recognize that customers have different perspectives. That's okay. I have different perspectives than other people. And my focus is on making sure that I'm delivering the best quality service by understanding the customers and really delivering on what they want and need. I follow up afterwards, so blah, 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 blah. So you see that I've got, rather than focusing on exactly line by line how I'm going to describe it, I focus on the big picture theme. Now, I'm a big picture person, that works for me. You might be more detailed, that's okay. Whatever works for you. But preparation is not just line by line, but what's the message that I want to get across? What's the key themes? How do I want them to feel? People often miss that. People get the job because they make the people feel good. They make them feel like they're less risky. They make them feel excited that the person's to join. They make them feel a lot of things, but don't forget the emotional component. I think another really good tool you can use is to bring in visuals. Okay, so visuals could be, say if they've asked in the job description for reporting, skills in reporting. Reporting's really hard to describe. How do you describe reports that you've done? The easiest way is to show them. Make sure they're not confidential, but sometimes it's way easier, particularly if you're quite nervous, to actually say, well, rather than me talk you through a report that I did. Let me show you. Let me show you this report that I did. This is notes from another video I did, available at all good video stores. So you might say, so here's the first thing I did in the report. Here's the second thing I did in the report. Here's the third thing. And we had a bit of a challenge when we came to this point, but then this is what we did about it. And then I did this, 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 okay? As you can see from the report, blah, 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 blah. Or this is what the report started off like. And this is my version. So as you can see, the report when it started was really, really all over the shop, as opposed to this really clear report here. So when you talk about it, and visually, you notice the nerves go because you're directing the energy rather than I'm coming up with it or I'm on the spot. I'm directing my energy over to here, so the paper's doing the talking. So visuals are a really good way to do it. And people often say, well, am I allowed to bring in visuals? And then it comes back to, is it your interview? Are you being interviewed? If it's your interview and you think it's going to add value, do it. Do it. You can always bring it with you, and then if you don't use it, that's fine. You've got it in your folder. And I'll give another example, another video of how you can really be creative about the visuals that you can bring in, like to try to blow their mind, but we'll get to that. So there are a few tips to kind of get you going. The key to think about it is nerves are normal. Nerves are normal, to be expected. It's just putting them in your body, working with them rather than against them, calling it out. Hey, I'm really nervous about this interview. I'm really confident day to day, but I'm really passionate about this job and I really want to land it. So my body's giving me all sorts of chemicals, but that's okay. You know, I'm really glad to meet you here today. You know, like there's no problem with actually saying that, being open and honest about being nervous, because that's normal, makes you sound authentic. And we like authentic people. When you choose which videos to watch on YouTube, do you like authenticity or do you like perfection? Would you like me to be perfect and read off a script? Or would you like me to stuff up, make a few bad jokes? Like, what would you like? What would you like? Put in the comments. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, my condolences. Yeah, best of luck in your next interview. I'll be rooting for you. All right, see you later. Bye-bye now.